Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Next Gen and Beyond. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna get into the year 1866. Get into after the year 1865, after they wrote the 13th Amendment. They didn't write another amendment until 1868, but they wrote a whole bunch of codes, and those codes were wrote against blacks, and in the areas that they could go in and re-abolishing the 13th Amendment. It started out at 20 sections. Now it's at 2 sections. On April 9th, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 is the first Civil Rights Act ever. I know most people think that the Civil Rights Act was the first Civil Rights Act in 1964, but the actual first Civil Rights was written in on April 9th, 1866.
On in your truck, it keep on beeping.
It's all right.
He said it's all right.
I just didn't close the door. Excuse me. All persons born in the United States are now citizens. Are now citizens. You're right. Are now citizens. The Ku Klux Klan is formed in Pulaski, Tennessee, made up of white Confederate veterans. It became a preliminary group to enforce white supremacists. Now we're gonna date this back in April 1866. During the midst of the time when the Congress was writing codes, the Ku Klux Klan was formed. And all in the same time, I'm gonna bring you to something of today's standard. We're gonna go back to June 6th. We're gonna go back to June 6th, 2021. Pardon me, 2022, when the Capitol was attacked. If you look around and look at most of the people that were there, you had 1,000 people for one reason or another. No one was shot at. No one was tried physically to be stopped. And this was a clear picture of America's being birthed through racism. You know what I'm saying? That they clearly showed there was a clear act of violence that was participated by white America. And I hate to collectively put them together as a whole because each individual is separate. But during the midst of white America, day and time, they built America on it, and now everything can't be oppressed the way it used to could be oppressed and systematically controlling and enslaving bodies. You know what I'm saying? Is not an issue anymore. But the issue in the Constitution is still one of the most important issues, and that issue is really who's a human and who's not. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of different codes and clauses. You know what I'm saying? Like in 1866, the Congress wrote a code that had went into the ex-slaves weapon charter. That when they abolished slavery, that every corporation in America at that time, that it was a black somewhere up in the midst, he had to be placed there but some voting system, some unelected system, and just lack of information and knowledge, caused us not to be don't actually gain a nationality. I know there's many nationalities out there, but when let's just say they have a conference today, and who gonna represent the African Americans? Or would you send the president of the United States? How could he represent the African American? So I'm gonna move on. In the southern Homestead Act of 1866 opened 46 million acres of land in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Louisiana, and Mississippi. African Americans have access until January 1st, 1877. 1877 had been they had truly abolished slavery, being able to move bodies from one land to another across the Atlantic or Pacific. All countries, United States abolished slavery in 1865, but South America didn't start shipping slaves. They didn't start sneaking slaves into South America until 1877. It had still been all fun and game. September the 23rd, you know what I'm saying, is the date of the birth of the Buffalo Soldiers. You know what I'm saying? And the Buffalo Soldiers, they was classified as African American, but African American, black, Negro, colored, nigga, however you want to look at it. You know what I'm saying? We're indigenous people. All right. One version of the second Freeman Bureau Act was vetoed and failed. Another is vetoed and passed, override in January, where the president was trying to truly oppress the Freedom Act bill. Just like now they have written a new bill that's called the George Floyd. It's the George Floyd Act. It'll be in law. The first week of November of 2022, it'll get in law, and you'll be able to research and study. You know what I'm saying, how he lost his life and how they took it to the courts. You know what I'm saying? So this particular act can't be done anymore because you have a lot of violence built through America. So it's just gonna take a bunch of love to unite, you know what I'm saying, the United States for it to live out to its actual name. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna move on to a significant time in a significant time in history. 1868. You remember I had said that they wrote two amendments in 1868. They wrote the 14th Amendment and the 15th Amendment. And I'm gonna get into a little bit about the 14th Amendment. They wrote this February 3rd, and they wrote it to stand on Section 1 requires due process and equal protection. All right, you know what I'm saying? Now, somewhere in the court system, they couldn't understand what had been written. Through 1877, whites attacked blacks and whites Republicans to suppress votes. Every election cycle is accountable by violence increasing in the 1870s. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't even allow the voting process to go on because the way the democratic system, the way the democracy system is written on a politician scale, and in that politician scale is one of the things about balance of power. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want the United States to have no king or queen, so they made sure they signed a document. That document is to this day known as the Magna Carta. And this particular document, you know what I'm saying, it creates a balance of power. And that created balance of power comes from three houses: legislation, executive, and judicial. And those three houses, you create law, judge, and execution. And at the beginning, written, the general of the army had to be appointed by the ex-president to become president. But as you can see, we got into a voting system, and throughout the time, that vote system had became a joke because of people thinking that the actual voting system actually don't work. It don't work when it just one or two people voting. It don't work. But when a mass of people plot and vote in one direction and count the votes from 5 years ahead, and you find the amount of votes of an average to find out who got elected and what amount of votes they had got elected by. And so you target that amount of votes. When you target that amount of votes on a candidate, they're gonna automatically win the office. It's just once they get in office, it's just reading and comprehending, you know what I'm saying, the office duties. And one of the significant things about the 14th Amendment is the 14th Amendment truly re-enslaved all the so-called free men that had been only free 3 years prior. Which in the realistic sense, they freed the slaves, but in realistic, they had been tortured and beaten throughout the whole predominant of their life, so they didn't have a lack of understanding, no reading, writing, no comprehension on doing business. You know what I'm saying? They had truly broke this generation after generation after generation. You know what I'm saying? And then upon generation after generation, they taught whites to rule over generation after generation. In 1863, you know what I'm saying, a medical examiner photographed Gordon showing his scroll back widely distributed by abolitionists to expose the brutal of slavery. Because even though they had been so brutal with slavery, they wanted to hide it. Even though it was so brutal, but no more hide. Everything must be exposed. So that made them create in 1870 what they call first two enforcement acts. And those enforcement acts had been to make sure that they keep all the so-called citizens entrapped. There's a whole bunch of acts, laws, everything in the United States is coded. It's coded through some type of act or law. And a lot of things that is said to be law don't always just be ground law. Because see, it's no land laws. Laws had to be created from maritime jurisdiction. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you look into the Constitution, you see that the Moors and the Moors and the United States have a true friendship. And even in the Constitution down in the butter, even if they ship was to be broke down, even in the midst of slavery. Never enslaved any of these people. They never tried once to enslave them. So I had to dig deep and wanted to know how did they know the difference between their black skin and my ancestor black skin. So I realized then that they were the sellers. You know what I'm saying? They had, you know what I'm saying, they had sold us to the Europeans. You know, we sell somebody something, they can do whatever they wanted with it. So they brought them over here and they sold them again. So if you read the 1 to 36, if you go to the 1 to 20 degree, the wisdom lesson, and you go and study the 1 to 36, you know what I'm saying, you'll understand, you know what I'm saying, how my uncle reached North America wilderness. You know what I'm saying, that this the only insight where you're gonna get that information and answers in literature. You know what I'm saying, for us like how we got what we had, you know what I'm saying, 379 years, you know what I'm saying, slavery, you know what I'm saying, and grasp the understanding God born, you know what I'm saying, you must understand all this total race. So once the history just kept repeating itself over and over and over, you know what I'm saying, we'll start waking up to what's going on, how everything's working. Because we had in our mind that the things that we see happen ain't true, like June 6th. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Please check us out on nextgenandbeyond.com, nextgenandbeyond.info, Next Gen Beyond, Next Gen and Beyond 32 platform. Thank you for your time, your patience, and our climb and building the new YouTube version. Take care. Peace.